Hello, and welcome to Real Talk, a podcast about films. Look, I just come on here. My name is Paul Britton. I come on here. I review movies. Hopefully, you take my advice and go see everything because that's what you should be doing. But and also you find these reviews semi entertaining and or informative. Today we've got two movies that I'm going to be reviewing. One is Bob Marley, One Love, the biopic about the you know globally famous reggae artist, and the other a international movie from France, The Taste of Things, which is the France's submission for best international feature at the Oscars this year. And so that's what I got for you. Two ends of the spectrum, not so far that it's like, oh my god, these are not any way related, but also not related at all. But it's fun and I love it. And so we're going to start off with The Taste of Things. So The Taste of Things, it's there's a little bit of controversy around this movie as far as why is it France's submission for best international feature. Kristen and I had previously had an in-depth and fantastic conversation about what most people feel like should have been France's submission, which is Anatomy of a Fall, which actually is nominated for best picture this year, along with another, England's submission for best international feature, Zone of Interest, the favorite to win that category, is also nominated for best picture. So we could have actually had two best international feature nominees in the best picture race. We only have one because France submitted The Taste of Things. At the time, Kristen indicated the general feeling was that The Taste of Things is a more French film, and I get that. I mean, this, yeah, this movie just seeps Frenchness. It just exudes its Frenchness. Look, this is a movie about cooking, and love. And the only thing it's missing to make it more French is mimes, honestly. That you would have had the Holy Trinity right there. But no, in all honesty, this is this is a very French movie. There is no English spoken in it. There might have been like a couple lines, but whereas Anatomy of a Fall has a lot of English in it, so I can see why the French would be like, no, we must go with this that is very French. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, Taste of Things. It's a movie turn of the century, and not 2000s, but like turn of the 18th century. There's a master chef and his cook. The cook is played by just powerhouse Juliette Binoche. I'm gonna have a conversation about her in a second. And the chef is played by Benoit Magimel, who actually was Juliette Binoche's partner for like 6 years. They were together. I don't think they ever got married. And this is directed by Ong Hung Tran, who is an immigrant, a Vietnamese immigrant who left Vietnam right after the fall of Saigon and went to France and became a really celebrated filmmaker in France, and actually has a previous uh, best picture or best international feature nomination under his belt for a prayer film that he made. So this is his second stab at the category. And anyway, so the movie's about the chef and his cook, and it's literally about two things: cooking, food, and their relationship. And I'm just here to tell you, it's on both accounts, it's an absolutely beautiful film. Um, the thing that I really like about this movie, I as much as I come in here a lot of times and I give praise to uh non-narrative films and films that are a little are a little less structured, and I really do enjoy those films. Sometimes I have a hard time with them. Sometimes the good ones are fantastic and I love. This movie is just there's a first act, and the first act is just Juliette Binoche cooking a meal while Juliette Binoche plays Eugene, and Benoit plays a man by the name of Dodin. And Dodin is hosting, you know, four of his clearly really good friends, and they are just here for this, 5-course super French meal. And it's just absolutely, it is. I am not one for like, I wish Sergio were here. He'd be all over this. I'm not one for like watching food being prepared. I'm not a big foodie at all. Like, I love food, but I'm not big into watching food being prepared, watching people eat food. This was this just changed my life in that regards. Absolutely fascinating watching all this food get prepared. And because it's set in the super late 1800s, very traditional. The everything that they're doing, super, no automation, no timers. It's just like boom, it's in the oven. Oh, I think it's time to pull things out. And it's really fascinating. That's the first act. The first act is just the preparation and consumption of this meal. The second act, they delve into the relationship between Eugene and Dodin, and with Pauline is a tertiary character in this. Pauline is a young teenage girl who is brought in by sort of like the maid of Dodin, and it's her niece, and she clearly shows an aptitude for cooking and for food artistry, and is trying to get an apprenticeship here with Dodin and Eugene to be a cook. And but at the same time, Eugene and Dodin clearly have this really beautiful, just an absolutely beautiful love for each other, and the love is within the food, within the context of their work together, and also love for each other. And it really is, it's such a beautiful, the second act is just so beautiful, and watching, understanding the complexity of this relationship. They've been working together for 20 years, have never got married, and then he finally proposes in earnest. You get the feeling that he's brought it up before, but she's always just been no, no, no. But she finally accepts, and but also at the same time, she's trying to trying to convince Pauline's parents to let her come and be apprentice. And also at this time, she's dealing with an illness of her own, like a very mysterious illness of her own. And that brings down this third act. And it's a really, it's touching and sad uh and powerful. I mean, this is just a beautiful and powerful and sad and joyous film. It really, it just hits so many different uh flavors, honestly. I mean, it just it and but it's a 3-course meal, and each course just is so subtle and so delicious. I get it. Anatomy of the Fall for me is a better movie on so many different levels, but The Taste of Things is such a more beautiful movie. Period. It's just a more beautiful movie, and it has one of the most beautiful people in the history of the world in it. Juliette Binoche is an all-time actor. Just absolutely everything she's been in, it's just like she's so captivating. Even like Ghost in the Shell, which isn't particularly a great movie, it's like holy shit, Julia Binoche. And and to see her in this, it's so refreshing and beautiful. And I I cannot, the superlatives on this movie are everything except it's better than my top 10 movies of the year. I like that it's just it for what it is. It is absolutely perfect, and I get why France would be like, you know what, this is the one we want to represent us. And bravo, good luck to it. Zone of Interest, I would vote for Zone of Interest in a millisecond. I covered last week. I covered the Teacher's Lounge. Uh, t- th- these are three totally different movies, totally fascinating on their own right. I, I'm glad I don't have to vote, but I'd be voting for Vote Zone of Interest still. Here, real talk. We give ratings on tacos. Mm, Taste of Thing tacos, and if we like it a little more than just giving a whole taco, we'll add some guac, because you don't give a half a taco because nobody's half a fucking taco. Um, and in honor, I'm gonna say three gloriously French tacos. Just a fusion of deliciousness and love of cooking and food artistry that is unparalleled in the annals of history. These would be the very best tacos, four tacos that you've ever had. Bravo, Taste of Things. I really didn't know what I was going to think going in, but you had me. It's a delicious, delicious, delicious movie. The next one we're going to do is a new release this week, and it's Bob Marley, One Love. Came out on Valentine's Day. Did really well at the box office. From Valentine's Day through President's Day, did over 40 million, crushed Madam Web. You're going to notice I'm not doing Madam Web because I haven't seen it, and I had to make a decision. Am I doing One Love or am I doing Madam Web? And Madam Web had like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes and then 40% from the fans, whereas One Love had like 50% from Rotten Tomatoes and 90% from fans. And that's where I'm going to begin. I am going to begin with a conversation of what's the difference between critical acclaim and we'll just call it fan service, but really something that the people can get behind. Because sometimes those things are out of whack. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. Like, if I go and look at the Teacher's Lounge right now. So the Teacher's Lounge on Rotten Tomatoes uh, currently has a 97 from the critics, but a 57 from the audience. And here's why. It's a really fucking difficult movie to watch, and it's going to call you out for all of your little latent racist bullshit. People don't like to be confronted like that. However, critics watch the movie and they recognize, oh shit, this is the way this movie is forcing you to confront this about yourself is absolutely fascinating and just an absolutely amazing work of art. Whereas Bob Marley, One Love, 43% critics and 93%. And here's why. As a film, as a work of art, I look, it's a first of all, it is a color by numbers biopic. You know, I've used that phrase before. Last week, I mentioned that the romantic comedy I reviewed, Upgraded, was a color by numbers romantic comedy, and look, I'm going to be honest. In that scenario, that's all it had going for it, and that doesn't work. But for Bob Marley, One Love, there's a history. Everybody has an understanding of Bob Marley's music, and they have an understanding of this is a guy who died way, way, way too young. He was in his 30s when he died of cancer. And there's love for his music, and there's an understanding that this is somebody that we should love. And so to be presented with a color by numbers biopic works for the fans because it's giving you a connection to this person that before you were only connected to his music. Now you're getting snippets of insights into the person. And what critics are looking for, me as well. Like, I'm just going to come out and say, I recognize this movie for what it is. And it is, it feels like if somebody did a sketch show about Bob Marley, and just like piece together a dozen little things. And yeah, they put them in chronological order, mostly with flashbacks. And yeah, individually, there are some that are really interesting, and there are some that are less interesting. As a whole, it there's it's lacking in story, but as a whole, it absolutely works emotionally. It really does. I mean, I was really, really choked up at the end of the movie. I went and saw this with my son, and at the end of it, I asked him, "What did you think?" And he said, "Yeah, that was really good. I like that." And he, when I ask him how he likes stuff, it's always just like, "It was good. It was okay." You know, this was a really, really strong response from him on this movie. And he's not even really like super well versed in Bob Marley music. Um, he's familiar enough, tertiarily familiar, but uh, but for me, like it got to the end and the end credits rolled, and I was just like, oh, it it pulls the levers. That's another critics don't like that. Critics D and there's a reason for that. If you're going to purposefully, um, elicit an emotional response, critics feel that it should be earned. Probably not entirely earned here, just because there's not an when you're doing a sketch show of somebody's life, even though they focus on like basically like a 3-year period, and it's not as egregious as the biopics that start when they're 12 and like show 10 minutes every 10 years until they die. So it's a little more focused, but it you never get. I mean, they make reference to the things that Bob Marley, his ethos, and the way things things that he believes, and they communicate a lot of that by having him being interviewed by press. So a lot of it feels spoon-fed and contrived, but it's also genuine, and I think that there's something to be said for that. I think it's okay to be paint by numbers if what you're presenting is genuine. And that's the difference between a paint by numbers biopic for somebody like Bob Marley, who you already have sort of an emotional connection with his music, and a paint by numbers romantic comedy where uh, I know where this plot is going, and and I don't really care about the characters, and this is difficult. I mean, having the automatic buy-in for the characters is a big deal. Um, I would love to say that this is a great movie. It is not. It is 100% a movie that people should see if you have any sort of connection to his music, however, and it is a movie that I would absolutely jump at the chance to sit down and watch again. And so anybody who follows the show will know that means it's getting 3 tacos. That I mean, I don't have a reason to give it any guac. I wish I did. You know, the performances are great. Everything really, really works uh within the confines of what is presented. Unfortunately, what is presented isn't always super thick. But that's okay. It's okay. Not everything needs to be super thick. That's all I got for you this week. Next week we're going to have the final of the international features that I know is being released here in South Florida before the Oscars, which is Perfect Days out of Japan, directed by German Wim Wenders. Super excited for that one. So please come back. 3 weeks in a row of international feature love, and it makes me happy. I love talking about this stuff. So yeah, come back. Uh, I hope you guys go out if you're looking for a movie to go see this weekend and you're not too sure. Just go see One Love. I mean, eh, you'll enjoy it. You will absolutely enjoy your time spent. 91 or 92% of the people who reviewed the film can't be wrong. So hey, have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week.